Hi, everyone. Welcome back to our final podcast of Girl Get Real. I'm Kristen, and I'm with Hannah, Emily, Lily. We're all back together for our the grand finale for our final episode, where we are going to be reflecting on the past few episodes, on the class, just kind of seeing where we're all at, what were our favorite parts, conversations. So, who wants to get us started?
Why don't you take us off, Kristen?
All right. So my favorite part of the class was, first of all, how it pushed me intellectually to think about certain things. Like LGBT, is not just, it's like a very social issue, but there's also like so many theories behind it. And so like the philosophy, which was, I thought was so cool. There was definitely points that I was like questioning my existence with like the cyborg manifesto.
Yeah, the cyborg. I was like, do I even exist? I'm like, am I real?
I read like all those like 30 pages, and at the end I was like, what is a cyborg at the end? I was like that confused.
Yeah, it was definitely mind-boggling. But I would have to say my favorite reading out of all of them was The Queer Dilemma and like Must like Movements Self-Destruct, because of how nitpicky language is. But I mean, it was such a complicated reading because, you know, Josh Gamson goes into this giant like dialogue, but then doesn't give an answer. He
just leaves you at the end, and you're like, what is going on? Like,
exactly. Exactly. And so, like, I found that article with like Kathy Cohen very like with Punk's Bull Dagger. Like, I thought it was so good, the conversation, because she gave a solution, and it was form alliances. And so that was something that was a clear outline of what this class was for me. And so that was definitely my favorite reading so far.
Yeah, and you must have done really well in the midterm, because that is exactly what the paper was about. So
yeah,
to you.
I wrote that midterm in a Starbucks in Madrid for the weekend, and it was so good.
Snap, snap, snap.
I loved writing it. It was so interesting.
Brownie points, definitely. No, like, I'll just totally piggyback off of what you're saying, because like my favorite part was definitely like reading Gamson. Like, I did my group project presentation on it, and I think that what really stood out to me was like decoding the word like queer, because in my generation it's always been like acceptable word, but just thinking about how like older generations like in the queer community don't accept it or see it as a negative thing just because how they experienced it. And it's so different for everyone, and it kind of tied into like the whole theme of like what I've learned this semester was like language as like a power and like as like a structure and a dialogue, and how it's like experienced like differently through different communities, like identities. So that was like my favorite part, and I still like think that it'll be something that I'm gonna continue to peruse like ongoing in my life.
Yeah, because language is like constantly changing, constantly evolving. People are like reclaiming words, and so it's an ongoing conversation. Yeah. We'll come back in 20 years and check up on the word queer.
This podcast.
My kind of like overarching favorite idea, I guess, is like just everything regarding power, because I didn't realize like how much of our lives are controlled until this class. Like, I didn't really think about it like that. Like, I walk down the street and I'm like, that's power. I'm like, they're controlling me. And I like, like, I just think about all of these things. Like, I just go down the street and I think about like the language, and I think about like the queer dilemma, and I'm like, I never thought any of these things before, and I just feel like a whole new person. Like, all of these ideas like wrapped into one. Like, yeah, it's just insane.
That was me with the marriage conversation, where I was like,
I'm like,
oh,
do I really
no,
want to get married? I'm like, I have been die hard. I want to be married and I want to have children, but now I'm like, they just want to control me, so fuck you. Like, I don't want to do it.
Yeah, it's control, and there's also like the aspect of you don't think that you're gonna get benefits by being married, but there's literally legal benefits of being married, and it's like, why is that? Why are we putting like a price on or an advantage on like love? It's
stupid. Yeah, very stupid.
Capitalism.
Yeah. We'll see if we can ever have a child through cyborg, you know, because
baby machine.
Yeah, a baby machine. So I think one of my favorite parts of the class was in the very beginning, and it was talking about baby X, and I think it really made me critically think about how gender is really performed, and that ties into Judith Butler a lot. And I was also like, it was really interesting to see how people are so uncomfortable with not having a person who's either a female or a male, like the dichotomy of gender. And I really liked this class and how we talked about fucking with gender and just how fluid it really can be, because I was so used to learning it in a very black and white way, and that's like times are changing, and it's really exciting and fun to learn about new LGBT studies classes.
Yeah, word. So we want to thank you all for listening once again and coming on this journey with us for our little final project moment. So thank you, and
Petition to get this on Spotify.
petition to get this on Spotify. Follow us on Instagram, shameless plug. Mine's Kristen, Kristen with another N. Pull it up. Lucia, Luciaa. Follow me on Instagram.
Mine's literally Emily Yee. That's it.
Mine is a little wordy. We got a lot of underscores in there. It's @_Smith_13_.
Word. We'll put this on like our little like Twitter or something like that.
I am HD.Ballard, Ballard.
Yes, stay connected with us, guys. I feel like we all formed like such a close bond from all the debates and conversations we had in class, and we want to stay in touch. So, girl, get real.
Yeah.
Bye.